Thank you for tuning in to Firm Hiring Beyond OCI, How to Succeed. I'm Rachel Kohler, an advisor in the Office of Career Strategy here at Georgetown Law. Before we get started, one quick note. This information is truly for focusing on firms and other private sector employers. The public sector search, particularly for nonprofits, have very different expectations and timelines. Please see OPICS, our Office of Public Interest Community Service, for help on that front. Now let's get started. If you're watching this video, then you likely went through the OCI process, but have yet to secure a summer position. If that happened and you're listening to this now, that means you're already on the right path for moving ahead with your search. That's important. That shows strength and resilience, which are both traits that legal employers want to see. Now that we are post-OCI, a helpful mental shift is to move from short-term thinking to taking a long-term perspective on where you want to be post-grad. Think beyond simply a summer job for next summer, as would be promised at an OCI firm. Instead, use a longer lens to consider where you want to end up post-graduation, and even a year or two beyond that. This video will explain how to create a portfolio of experiences using not only the summer, but your remaining semesters and perhaps first year of practice to chart a course for the type of position that you see yourself in. This mindset is different than the one-and-done OCI mentality, and has the benefit of allowing you to develop a focus and target a band of employers that match that focus. In short, you're no longer building a path to a summer job that ends in a post-grad offer. Rather, you're creating a series of cohesive experiences that will make you an attractive 3L or postgraduate lateral candidate to the employer that you truly want. When you wrap up OCI's Advising 2L, you have 5 clear periods of time left on your resume that you can fill before graduation. For 2L fall, 2L spring, rising 3L summer, 3L fall, and 3L spring. That gives you 5 or more segmented opportunities to cultivate your skills and tailor your experience for your post-grad job search. What does that mean? It means that you should make sure that by the time you graduate, you have transferable skills and experiences that your prospective employers will want to see. Outside the OCI context, skills and experience are the currency that employers look to more than anything. Research what you need to get there. Ultimately, you need to learn what it takes to get to where you want to be and figure out what steps are available to you along that path. Let's talk through an example of what a successful strategy looks like so that you can use a similar method to meet your goals. As we go through this example, track this recipe for success. Research your goal, plan a path to get there, and use your entire toolkit to succeed. Let me introduce you to Patrick Healy. Patrick Healy is a 2L who just participated in OCI, but unfortunately did not get a job offer out of that process. Patrick is a composite student based off of a handful of post-OCI paths to firms that real students have taken. Patrick wants to do corporate transactional work at a large, prestigious firm. So how does Patrick meet that goal? Let's use Patrick's resume as a map to see what path he took. On this resume, we see at the bottom that Patrick had summered before OCI at the Export-Import Bank, and that he ultimately got the firm job that he wanted. So what did he do in between to get there? To get the job he wanted, Patrick developed a focus. In a lot of ways, Patrick declared a major. This is the core of your search over the next few years. Ideally, your focus gives you some flexibility. For instance, you may broadly pursue transactional work, but specifically you zero in on project finance. This flexibility allows you to be competitive for some of the positions that fall into the broader bucket, as well as those that call for a more niche expertise that you're developing. Here's how Patrick built out that focus and how it's reflected on his resume for employers. First and most straightforwardly, Patrick made sure to take relevant courses as soon as possible so that he could learn the content enlisted on his resume. While Patrick inevitably took more than just these classes while at Georgetown, he always lists the most relevant coursework for a particular employer when he submits his resume. Patrick also got involved with an on-campus activity that helped him network with practicing attorneys and learn the insider language of his industry of choice. Now, here it gets more complicated. What did Patrick do with those 5 opportunities we discussed in order to reach his goal? After interning at Exim, Patrick built on that by getting a spring research assistant position on his resume where he did relevant research to his practice area. This gave him an opportunity to learn in depth about a few key concepts, which is an excellent way to impress an interviewer. For the following summer, Patrick got an in-house opportunity at a large corporation. He knew that there were multiple ways that this could help him. Not only was it great corporate law experience, but he was also working for a business that, frankly, many firms would covet as a client. Then Patrick had a busy 3L fall, getting externship credit to work at the Federal Reserve and continued to curate his skills and work history. Because he secured this position before fall started, he was able to include it on the job applications that he submitted during his summer between 2L and 3L. So by the time his resume was in front of the firm recruiter, it told a clear and consistent narrative about Patrick and the value he'd bring to their team. But what we've seen so far doesn't tell the whole story of how Patrick got his job. What's missing? There's a hidden key here at the bottom of the resume. Patrick has 2 lines here that played a role in his success, although it's not very obvious. Specifically, in the pro bono line, Patrick cultivated client-facing experience and good communication skills. Many small business owners don't have JD degrees, but Patrick was able to explain complicated legal concepts to them and issue spot. This ability translates to larger corporate work, especially as he won't always be working with attorneys in the corporate general counsel's office. Sometimes he'll be talking to middle management at his client or with other staff members. When he does have to explain legal concepts to these groups, he will use the skills he cultivated here. This is a key concept because not everything on your resume is going to be a one-to-one match with the job you apply for. Sometimes you'll have to rely on transferable skills and adjacent experiences to demonstrate why you're prepared to be in this role. Also, Patrick's professional affiliations line here shows that he's been doing some serious networking in order to get into his firm, and that is critical for 2 reasons. Patrick needed to network to reach his goal so that he would be able to make informed choices and be in the right place at the right time. Even though as he was headed into OCI, Patrick knew he needed practicing attorneys to guide him through the process of getting a position in his specific field. So early on, he joined professional affiliation groups like the ABA section on business law in order to meet professionals in the field. When OCI didn't pan out, Patrick ultimately connected with enough people that his personality clicked with a senior associate at a firm who was happy to talk Patrick through some tough decisions. For example, when Patrick had 2 offers giving him the option to work for either the Federal Reserve or on a political campaign that he was particularly passionate about, that mentor was able to advise him, explaining, a firm like mine might not be particularly interested in the policy experience you get on a campaign, but we work with attorneys at the Federal Reserve all the time, and we always look for candidates who've had that experience. Or for another example, when Patrick needed to make a list of all the firms he wanted to do direct applications to before his 3L, his mentor was able to give him some tips for firms that he should pay special attention to, either because he knew someone had just left or because he knew they really wanted candidates who had interned at XM. Through this back and forth, Patrick's mentor relationship helped him make informed choices. His network also helped him be at the right place at the right time. Because he has relationships with a number of attorneys in his field, when an opening came up in the transactional group at his firm, he was already connected to a junior associate in their employee benefits group. That junior associate was willing to pass along his application package to the recruiter so that it didn't come through an online portal with 300 other applications. Instead, the recruiter paid special attention to it. The professor that Patrick was a research assistant for was even willing to put in a call to the hiring partner on his behalf. Ultimately, Patrick combined his experience with his network to get the job he wanted. Now we want to address some common concerns about this strategy. But isn't this a lot of work? Does it sound daunting? Does it sound like Patrick did a huge amount of work just to get lucky? It may sound daunting, but remember, we're describing 2 years worth of time, work, and creating relationships. It doesn't all get done in a day, and it won't have to. You have time to figure out who your mentors will be and how you'll get to where you're going. And even though Patrick is a composite of different students' experiences, the aphorism is true. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. If this firm hadn't worked out, Patrick would have used this strategy to get the next one. But he only needed this strategy and his preparation to work once so that he could get his first post-grad job. And that's the thing to remember. The first job out of post-grad is often the most difficult one to get, and to many students, has the most daunting amount of work leading up to it. After all, you never know what's going to work out. But this is the strategy you'll use your entire career. It just might feel more organic as you make career moves longer term. You'll get there. But how do I apply this to my goals? As we said in the beginning, you need to figure out where you're going to be at least 2-3 years from now and then learn what it takes to get there. But every person, no matter how similar their goals, is going to have a different path. Not every student who wants to be a corporate attorney can or should work at the Associated Press or the Federal Reserve like Patrick. At the end of the day, you're going to want to gather a lot of information, synthesize it into a few themes, and apply it to yourself. It turns out that's what lawyers do, so start using those skills now. And our office can help. Come in and meet with us to discuss how you can apply this strategy. But what if I don't know what I want to do post-grad? Now, this is a tough question. If you don't know what you want to do because you're still choosing between 2 to 3 overlapping career paths, that's fine. As we mentioned earlier, you can aim to cultivate experiences that transfer well to multiple job types. For example, Patrick's experience at the Export-Import Bank was broad enough work that it would have been compelling experience to a large range of practice groups. But it also reflected how Patrick was beginning to cultivate subject matter expertise in a practice as narrow as project finance. If you feel like you truly don't have any direction right now, though, it's really important to figure it out soon, even if it's just a general idea. Come meet with a career advisor at your earliest convenience to work on a strategy for who you should talk to, what questions you should ask, and how to take steps now that leave room for maneuverability. So what are your action items? Let's revisit those steps for a successful strategy. Research your ideal post-grad employment, not Patrick Healy's, not your roommates, yours. Plan. Research how to get there and plan out what externships, professional groups, pro bono opportunities, and networking will help you get there. And yes, this plan might involve spreadsheets. Use your whole toolkit to get there. Have a refined resume, strong and specific cover letters, and a network of attorneys to get advice from, and advocates who will call employers on your behalf. But overall, meet with us. Your OCS advisor is an important resource for helping formulate your individual career strategy and maximizing the impact of your application documents. We do often learn in positions that employers don't want to put on simplicity, but instead ask us to connect them directly with the students who have that particular skill set or goal. By staying in touch with our office, you can be at the forefront for these opportunities when there's a good match. We can also be sounding boards as you navigate forming your professional narrative and implementing it over the next 2 years. Thanks for listening. We hope this video is helpful. We encourage you to email, call, and make appointments with our 2L3L team of OCS career advisors for more help on this and other career questions you may have.